My name is Melissa Gómez. I am the Transport Policy Officer at the German Cyclist Association, ADFC, and I will be moderating this panel about international best practices. As a reminder, if you are tweeting about this session, you can use the hashtag INORAD with double N. And if you are registered to the event, you can leave your questions to our speakers during their presentations. At the end of the panel, we will have some time to go through some of them. So with not further delay, I would like to welcome the first of our panelists. He is Clyde Lokes. Clyde is Deputy Leader at the London Borough of Waltham Forest and will tell us about the process of the implementation of the mini Hollands in his borough, a successful history. Clyde, the virtual floor is yours. I think your mic is mute.
Schoolboy error, apologies. Guten Tag. Thank you for inviting me this afternoon. Can you see my slides? Are they showing?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Thank you. I shall make a start. For those of you who don't know London, Waltham Forest is the borough that I've placed a person on a bike in. It's in northeast London, right on the edge of London. It's what we call one of the outer London boroughs. Waltham Forest was successful in securing about £27 million from Boris Johnson when he was Mayor of London some 7 years ago to create what was then called Mini Holland, building on best practice from the continent in London, in particular outer London, where mode share for walking and cycling was low, but car ownership and use was very, very high. And part of that program was about building segregated cycling infrastructure, was about creating low traffic neighborhoods where you take out through traffic, rat running traffic from residential areas, building more resilient town centres where walking and cycling was to be encouraged and prioritised, complementary measures around cycle parking, accessible cycle parking for residents and for commuters, as well as things like cycle training. Orford Road was our first major scheme in the Walthamstow village. It was hugely controversial at the time because we proposed very radical responses to the challenges of through traffic, in particular in this area. And at the time of completing the scheme, even though residents had backed the scheme during formal engagement and consultation, we had quite a significant challenge to the work that we had delivered, and it got quite confrontational, including some of the biggest demonstrations on our town hall steps that we've ever had in the borough's 50-year history. This is what the heart of Walthamstow village, Orford Road, looked like before we made our interventions. Around about 2,500 vehicle movements a day in both directions, a very traditional, very tight road network, largely a road network laid out by the Victorians. So designed before cars were even invented, never mind kind of levels of mass car ownership that we have in London still to this day. But it had a very traditional parade of shops at its heart. And if you were a pedestrian, more often than not, you would have to walk in the road because cars would be parked up on the pavements, even though that was illegal. This is now what it looks like. We've taken out the through traffic after 10 in the morning through till 10 at night. So logistics, the shops can be serviced by their suppliers outside of those hours, but now it is prioritized for pedestrians and cyclists. And now this is a destination. This is where people come, not just from Waltham Forest and Walthamstow, to spend their leisure pound and their shopping pound, their retail pound, but they come from all over London to this space because it prioritizes pedestrians. People feel safe there and they'll spend more time there because they are comfortable in that space. Here's some indications of some of the roads that surrounded Orford Road. The figures before the trial of the number of vehicle movements in those residential streets. The figures after the trial are after we installed what we call modal filters, and they are blockages in the road that prevent motorized traffic from using the entire length of those residential streets, but do allow cyclists, those in mobility scooters, and pedestrians still to go through the road. So they're not road closures, they are modal filters. And as you can see, a real significant in the percentage change of through traffic using this residential area to bypass traffic infrastructure designed for it. Here's another example of a similar scheme, Francis Road in the heart of Leighton in the south of Waltham Forest. Again, we had around about 7,500 vehicle movements in this particular road. And again, we went through a process of creating modal filters in the residential streets around it. And then we put a timed closure in this shopping parade. And here, like in Orford Road, businesses have claimed the space. They take great pride in looking after the planting, and they take great pride in arranging particular events that draw people in. Before this level of intervention in this particular area, this was a parade of shops that was really kind of dying. Just some information around some of the processes that we go in advance of delivering a scheme. We do what we call a perception survey of our residents and businesses. We ask them what their priorities are, what their challenges are, and what you get from these kind of infographics here is the fact that businesses constantly overestimate the amount of their visitors and shoppers that come to them via motor car. And they constantly overestimate the need for parking and such like. Where actually pedestrians, visitors to those areas want fewer cars in that space. They want fewer parking opportunities. They want it to be a more pleasant experience. Here's some of the major cycling infrastructure that we've done with regard to segregated cycle tracks. In your bottom left-hand corner, that's how we used to treat pedestrians and cyclists, right up against that bus, that double-decker bus. You can see a cyclist and two pedestrians trying to compete with each other for the space. On the bottom, your bottom right-hand corner, you can see what they now have. That's exactly the same place that picture was taken at. Whips Cross roundabout was a really fast, unsignalled roundabout. Had no place in a modern city, never mind London. We've now taken that roundabout out, made it a fully signalised junction with huge levels of pedestrian and cycling infrastructure and priority put in place. Our communities have really taken to the schemes that we've done. We've created huge amounts of pocket parks and public realm improvements, taking away car parking spaces, narrowing junctions to allow people to take over those spaces and put planters in and look after the planting. And as a result, that kind of level of community cohesion, community engagement has really grown. And it's not just about an active travel agenda with regard to our Mini Holland programme. It is a way of life agenda. It's about community cohesion. It's about public health. It's about health and well-being, air quality and economic revival. And of course, now increasingly contributing to a response to the climate emergency. Cycle training and cycle hire are a big part of what we offer with regard in our Waltham Forest Mini Holland scheme. You know, you can build the infrastructure, you can put in place the priority for pedestrians and cyclists, but you've also got to help people take over that space. You've got to encourage people. You've got to give and lend people bikes and cargo bikes, and that's a big part of our programme. As well as cycle parking, a range of different cycle parking options, just making it easier for people to own a bike in their residential street and access a bike and store their bike when they get to one of our tube or rail stations on their way to work. Just a summary of some of the interventions that we've put in place over the past couple of years. around about 80 plus modal filters now. I think when Melissa came to visit last year, we were around about 40 or 50. Since she visited, we put another 30 plus in. Cycle usage has increased by 103%. Car usage has dropped by 7%. 118 extra pedestrian crossings, as well as improving many of those already in place. And we've taken away in 2019, 850 on-street car parking spaces alone, just in that 1 year. And obviously, since COVID-19 and lockdown hit, we've seen a big push for putting in temporary measures. So we're putting in lots of temporary cycle tracks using kind of wands and orcas, kind of temporary interventions that we hope to kind of turn into permanent schemes later on. We've seen a big push for what we call school streets in the UK. It's really unusual still, unfortunately, for people to walk or cycle their children even to the very local schools. You know, they like to drive, but we've been enforcing school streets, which means pedestrians, children, people on bikes are really encouraged to take over the space in and around the schools. And of course, we've been putting in many temporary modal filters as well to help encourage people to walk and cycle, in particular those short-based car journeys. And of course, we've been heralded in Waltham Forest as the borough that pioneered the 20-minute neighbourhood. Paris may talk about a 15-minute city. We take great pride in our 20-minute neighbourhood. They nicked it from us in Waltham Forest. Thank you very much.
It is very impressive how much you can really achieve in such a short time and such a bigger impact that you can have. And exactly as you just said, it's really not about an active mobility agenda. It's really about a way of life agenda. We're going to keep that same. And now let me welcome Sylvia Casoran. Sylvia is head of the Metropolitan Bicycle Office of Barcelona and neighbor of the Superblock in Poblenou. We are very excited to hear what you have to tell us today, especially because a few days ago we heard that the mayor of Barcelona, Ada Colau, just announced this ambitious plan of making Barcelona a giant superblock. So please, the word is yours.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, these days are very exciting, also for the people living in Barcelona. And let's see what the next months and years are bringing, but yes, Superblock is growing and growing. Well, yes, as you said, Melissa, I live in the Superblock in Poblenou, and I will tell you my experience as a neighbor the last 4 years, since we are super neighbors. Yeah, in the end, Superblocks is also a part of the battle for public space that you are all having in your cities. This is Barcelona in the map is from the urban mobility plan, for the last one, from the one that defined the Superblocks model. And this is in yellow. You can see the neighbor Poblenou. This is almost 100,000 inhabitants, but in the Superblock, which is the red spot, we live less than 2,000 inhabitants. So it's a quite low dense area compared to the rest of Barcelona. Well, this is the Superblock area. Some years ago, it used to be an industrial area, and this means that it's a transforming area still. Now, of course, all the streets are open. This is just before the Superblock. And before the Superblock, all the streets were a sample grid, 20 meters wide, the same hierarchy, which means that the car was the king. But then with the Superblock, we got these new squares at the crossing that I will show you now. What's the Superblock? In a sample grid, we've got this grid that is totally the same. I mean, all the streets have the same hierarchy, 20 meters wide. But then with the sample grid, what we try to reach is traffic calm areas inside some perimeter. So we define a Superblock. The model is 3 by 3, and it's like ours, but Superblocks can be, of course, very flexible. And then the traffic goes only in the perimeter. Inside the Superblock, traffic has to turn around and then get back to the perimeter. But the concept is really simple, because just creating some changing some directions for cars, you can really get these new squares in the middle of each street. and then you get a lot of new place for just for people. Our experience in Superblock. Poblenou started 4 years ago. It was not a part of the Superblocks program because it really started as an experiment from the university. It was called a Superilla pilot, Superblock pilot, and then we had for 2 weeks we had like 100 students from the architecture students preparing different proposals what to do with the public space. So yeah, this is our Superblock. You can see in the perimeter there is some strange thing that these two streets are going from the sea to the mountain. So in the end, our Superblock now is like this. They had to open really this street also for the traffic, not only for the bus but for the rest. But in change, we got this space totally car-free, which is of course the most used. The first day, we had these students doing all kind of interventions. They painted. No, this was not the students. This was the municipality. They painted the new signals. They removed some car parking. They removed bike lanes, and they changed the directions. Even the police didn't really know how to react because, of course, bikes could go through in two ways, while the cars and motorbikes they could go only one way. And this kind of intervention was there. This was the playground square. Each square had a specific topic. This was the democracy square, and in fact, we had many meetings here with politicians, also to discuss about Superblocks. And here in these meetings, the neighbors that we didn't know each other really, because it's a quite new area, and the buildings are quite disconnected from each other, and there are no services at all. We started meeting the neighbors that were in favor and also the neighbors that were against the project. The first weeks, the students went away after these 2 weeks. It was in September, so when after the car-free day, they went away and everything that they had prepared was removed. So we had asphalt, totally. I mean, we had a lot of empty space, but it was just asphalt. So yeah, kids really like to draw on the asphalt, but it was really hard to imagine things to do, no, when with only asphalt. But yeah, people started walking in this area, and of course, in the meantime, the municipality started the participatory process to define what to do with all this new space. The neighbors that were in favor, that we just met during those days, we started also filming some short messages because there were some news that were saying that the ambulances, for instance, couldn't enter in the Superblock, or that the people couldn't get their homes by car, which was, of course, totally not true. And then the kids were asking in these films things like, I want to celebrate my birthday party in the Superblock, or of course, I can drive to my home in the Superblock, or I want to play sport in the Superblock, or Alfonso was saying, I want to meet my neighbors at the street in the Superblock. Yeah, because suddenly we had this available space, and then the companies, but also the gym that is nearby, also the neighbors, but also the Chinese school, even without nothing else on the asphalt, we started using this space. This was a company, they were playing a game. I really didn't understand what was the game, but they were there. And then the neighbors in favor, we also painted some things to hang from the balconies, because the neighbors against it, they had very professional posters everywhere. No Superblock. After 3 months, finally, you could see now that this is the previous situation on the Superblock, and this is after 3 months the Superblock started. Finally, the municipality could bring our desires as neighbors. New branches, new trees. They are still in pots. New picnic tables, which is the best ever. Also, the car-free part had new paints, as you can see here. There are not many neighbors, but we've got many offices. So also many people are eating here for dinner, for lunch. We got these tennis tables as well. So, well, here, this is a car dealer, it's Seat. You see, here they had a poster, no Superblock. which was quite fun, that the car dealers were going to Superblock. Yeah, this is still like this. I mean, we had in Barcelona, we generally have 5 meters wide sidewalks, but in this street there are only 2, and without any street. So that was a quite ugly street. Yeah, and the neighbors, we started not only using the space for ourselves, but also organizing things for the rest of the neighbors, which was really nice, like concerts, like cinema at the night, chess tournaments, well, many activities, also together with the parties of the neighborhood. This was how the final project looked after the participatory process. And then finally, after 1.5 years, the municipality could really get playgrounds in the middle of the process. You can see we got 3 new playgrounds, which is quite okay. And in this part, which was the worst, the municipality could really do real urbanism, not only tactical, but they were already working on this, so they changed to the Superblock idea. So we could even see butterflies or kind of fauna. Yeah, we are participating in many parties, not now anymore without the COVID, but we hope it's coming back. This was the best. I mean, Beyblade for kids, we got like 200 kids, and then parents and brothers, and we got like 1,000 people just for this event. It was crazy. We also painted not the asphalt. This is a boy that was killed some years ago in Sabadell, in a city nearby Barcelona, and this is the brother. The parents made this draw with the kids, so we also put them to really ask for the cars to go slow, because that's the biggest problem is that in the Superblock cars should really go under 20 kilometers per hour, but they don't do that. We also created some news. We participated in many, in Valencia, in Zaragoza, in many places to talk about also the Superblock. So also spreading the Superblock concept was one of our objectives. Yeah, well, I don't know if I've got time, so that's...
Yes, you do now have a couple of minutes still.
Okay, well, this is maybe for the discussion later. It's an interesting discussion now with tactical urbanism versus hard urbanism. Tactical is very useful. You could see also, especially during the COVID, but then it's also giving more weakness to the project in the beginning, because the neighbors are like, oh, okay, if you did this in 1 weekend, just remove it and go back to the previous situation. While when it's hard urbanism, there's no way back. So that's also important. Yeah, Superblocks or axis. That's why I'm gonna go through very quickly. This is in Madrid. This is a street that was born like the Superblock in Poblenou, and this was disappearing some years later. It's just 50 meters long. So this is a very simple action that, because of political reasons, disappeared. This is the Sant Antoni Superblock, which was born 3 years later than ours, and this is real in the city center, and it's very crowded here, and it's really, really nice. It's also tactical urbanism and one part with hard urbanism. Barcelona COVID measures, of course, we also had some of them, but this is the real challenge. We have to remove the asphalt, right? So now, yeah, what's next? Superia Barcelona, as Melissa was saying, this week we had this big announcement of this new 21 new axes and 21 new squares in a Shambla in the city center. To the right, you can see the location of our Superblock in Poblenou. But then this is the real city center, so this will be really impressive. And this is the axis, the green axis in our neighborhood, and you can see this is the second Superblock in our neighborhood. This one in Cristobal de Moura. It's really amazing what they did. It's really green, yeah, that's the way. Well, thanks to my neighbors, Collective Superia Poblenou, 4 years old already. Well, and these are my super neighbors, and we are friends now. We didn't meet each other 4 years ago. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Silva. Well, I think it is very important, this example of the Superblock. Now, many people don't know, but the original plan for this part of Barcelona that is thought in blocks conceived an internal park inside every block that shouldn't be allowed to build on. and this was not respected. And at the end of the day, all the blocks were built on and live in the city, really, or this part of the city with almost no green areas and very poor public spaces, let's say. So it's really a very big answer to all the many challenges that this bad management, urban management caused. So very interesting. Thank you, Sylvia. And now I'd like to welcome to the virtual stage Laura Bahamón. She is the basic manager of the city of Bogotá, Colombia, and she will make us jealous, telling us about the Ciclovia program in Bogotá. Welcome, Laura. I can't hear you. You need to unmute your mic. You're still muted. Yeah. Oh, now, no, we are still cannot hear you. Let's see if now.
Now?
Now I can hear you. Great. So you can start.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. This is our special ciclovia from Bogotá. I try to go through the history very fast because it started in 1974. Then I'm gonna talk about what is ciclovia about, the challenge and the problems, and what we expect in the next months and years. So, like I said, Ciclovia started in 1974 as a citizen initiative. The people want to manifest about or against the proliferation of automobile, sustainability, because it started a lot of pollution and lack of recreational offer in the city. So they took the bicycle as a symbol and coordinate the close of some main streets in 3 hours and make this experiment. And this experiment, 2 years later, was created as an event, as an institutional event by decree. They said the difference between ciclovia, this is a temporary space for sport, for recreation, and cicloruta. For us, cicloruta are the permanent infrastructure for cycling. They plan for routes, and they had a lot of goals, but I want to stay with this because I think it's very actual. um, they want to make a mental change, understanding that streets are public spaces and can have different uses depending on the time of the day of the week, and I add the day of the year and the situation of the world. Then between 1995 and 2000, the ciclovia grow like a flower because it started the administration by the District Institute of Recreation Sport. Um, and the vision was making the largest temporary park in the world. So they became 20 kilometers and make it through 121 kilometers of streets. The mayor give the ciclovia more budget, more time, more people. Start be frequent every Sunday, every holiday, and another activities like the recreovia, that's like aerobics in the streets, was a very important element to bring more people in this activity. It start maybe with 200,000 people, and now the people is for almost 2 million people every Sunday. And of course they organize informal commerce. Uh, But ciclovia is not just a day. We have the night ciclovia. The first one was in 1999 with the participation of 3.6 million people. This is very, very impressive. And especially in a city that maybe there is a lot of fear. The people think that going out at night is a bad practice for thieves. So the people going out with the family, with friends, and enjoy Christmas lights. It was a very, very interesting experiment, I will say it. And now we have it every year. We expect that with the pandemic we can celebrate it this December. I'm sorry.
Okay, Laura, can you just wait for a second because we cannot hear you anymore? But can you just keep on talking to see if we can fix it? Yeah, we lost your tone. Just and we are not you. But well, okay. In the meantime, maybe now, Laura. Laura, can you hear us? Okay. So it seems like now that the sound is gone. But I take the opportunity to tell you that I'm originally from Bogotá, and I grew up with a ciclovia every Sunday and every holiday. And sometimes it's actually really hard to understand how come not every city in this planet had implemented an open streets program. It's really, I can only recommend it. It has such a positive impact in the city, and it's on Sundays. It means there's no this fear that it could interfere with like productive traffic. So it's a very powerful tool, even if it could be like a simple one. So let's see if now we have Laura. No, we cannot hear you. Did you change something in your settings, or was it here that didn't work? Okay, maybe you can try to plug it in and out again, or even try to go out and come back, because something that you switched or changed is not working anymore. So no, it's still. Yeah, okay. Okay, Laura, I would say then we try to fix the sound problems, and then in the meantime we go to our last speaker, and then we come back to finish your presentation and your questions. So last but not least, I'm really glad and delighted to bring Jennifer Toole into this conversation. Jennifer is the president of Toole Design in Maryland in the USA. And she will tell us about an experience with many examples and how to get them done well and fast. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, first, I just want to thank you all for inviting me to speak. And before I start, I just want to say that here in the US, we have greatly benefited from learning about what other great cycling countries have done. And one of the most valuable experiences for me was traveling to Spain to learn about the cycling program in Seville. We have cyclovias here in the United States, which we borrowed from Bogotá. And so, and we have learned so much from other countries. So we're very excited to share what we have been doing here in the US. So just a very quick history of our cycling infrastructure. If you've ever been to my country, you know we have a very car-focused transportation system. There was almost no funding for cycling infrastructure before about 1990. Then money started flowing, a very small amount of money. And most of that was used for planning. We have a strong history in the US of planning. So for almost the first 20 years, we spent a lot of time talking about what we wanted to build. And then finally, more recently, starting in 2005, 2010, we started building things. And right now, we're in a very strong building phase of putting projects, cycling infrastructure on the ground. But if you come here, don't expect it to be a great place to bicycle yet. We have a lot of very fast roads where bicycling is not good, and we have a lot of work to do in my country. And so just first of all, I'm going to be talking about quick build projects here in the United States. We call them quick build or rapid implementation. It's a way of getting new cycling infrastructure on the ground very quickly, much faster than we would normally do it. What is driving this in the US is first some inspiration. I mentioned Seville, Spain. The story of Seville's cycling infrastructure was told many times at conferences here in the US. And the story of building a lot of infrastructure fast and seeing an immediate rise in the rate of bicycling, how many people were out bicycling, along with a reduction in the number of injuries, that was very inspiring. At the same time, local governments were beginning to put out tax bonds for votes here in the United States, and they were successful in getting a lot of local funding for bicycle infrastructure. We also have a very interesting situation in the US that private foundations have been putting money towards bicycle infrastructure, and quite a bit of money, but mainly as seed money to get local governments to also invest in bicycle infrastructure. And then finally, I would say that we just have a lot of impatience. All that time that we spent planning and talking about making our cities better for bicycling, people began to get impatient to see change. And that was driven by lots of other concerns as well. Concerns about climate change, worrying about the deep inequities in our cities where if you don't own a car, then you're more at risk for death and injury. And that is particularly true in the poor areas of our cities. And then safety concerns, and then just overwhelming public support for these facilities. So what is quick build? Quick build, or sometimes we call it rapid implementation, is a strategy that uses both public and political support to implement fully connected bike networks, usually in 2 years or less, while sort of going around the normal process of doing street changes. Rapid implementation or quick build is an approach that focuses resources, so funding, staff, consultants, public engagement, advocates, to deliver a full network of high comfort bike facilities very quickly. This would normally take a decade or more in most of our cities. We are doing it in under 2 years. And the focus is on high comfort bikeways. So bikeways that are separated from traffic, or bikeways that are on extremely low speed streets. And typically the network is concentrated in a central district or a downtown area, and that full network is built all at once. So we had some early successes here in the United States. As I mentioned, we were really inspired by Seville, Calgary, not in the US, and North America though, was an early adopter and was also successful with quick build. And then a number of other cities have implemented this strategy. And these are just examples that my company has been involved with. There are other places as well, but I just want to point out that there are a few cities on this list that are not known for being very bike friendly. Houston, Texas is an example. You know, not a place where it's a home of big oil companies. Traditionally not a great place to bike. In fact, they had very few miles of bike facilities until very recently. There is a company or an advocacy group called People for Bikes here in the US, and they have been a very important part of this movement, again, using foundation money, private foundation money to help partner with some of these cities to provide technical support for these quick build projects. But many cities are doing this on their own as well. I want to talk just briefly about New Orleans as an example of a quick build project. The city has made a lot of progress in a very short amount of time. It was not a good place to bicycle up until very recently. And because of Hurricane Katrina, which wiped out pretty much their entire transit system, they have neighborhoods that where it takes people 2 or 3 hours just to get to their jobs downtown because they don't own a car. And so there are a lot of deep inequities in New Orleans. And so in just a short amount of time, they went from only having about 11 miles of bikeways to 130 miles of bikeways. And the Quick Build project will build 75 miles of bikeways in 2 years. And we are in the middle of that project right now. So I want to talk about what it is about these projects that make them work here in the US and how we were able to build these networks so quickly. And the first thing that we do is we develop a solid set of design standards at the beginning. These standards are what everyone agrees that the way that we will build these projects. So we cut down the back and forth debate over every single design and intersection and street by agreeing up front on how we're going to design it. And number two, we set up new decision-making frameworks that are not the normal slow process of change that we're used to. Many times in the United States, projects reach a point where one agency does not agree with another agency about how a project should be built. And it reaches an impasse that sometimes takes years to work through. In Quick Build, we set up a decision-making framework that keeps that from happening. Often it means that one person or one group of people has the power to make that decision and call the shot quickly so that the project can move forward. And then the third key has really been just investing enormous resources in terms of staff staff time on the part of the city, staff time and on the part of consultants, and also a great deal of public engagement. There are 4 primary strengths that I want to share of this process of doing quick build projects. And we've had an opportunity to work on many of the cities I showed you earlier, and we've thought about some of these sort of cross-cutting themes of quick build projects, and I'm going to go through these. First is that you know, the traditional design and project delivery tends to get bogged down as you go through design. And here in the United States, this feeling that whatever we build has to be perfect from the start. In quick build, we avoid that. We focus on getting the project on the ground. And it doesn't mean that it has to be perfect. We learned a lot from Seville because this was their strategy as well. If you've ever been to Seville, some of the bikeways wrap around trees and they become very narrow in places. They made compromises so that they could get that network on the ground quickly. And then they go back and fix those places afterwards. And so we have a lot of examples of quick build projects where adjustments are made, sometimes as we're building the project, but often as well after we've built it, we come back and fix those places. Also, I think one of the things that quick build addresses is this fear of change. And it's true in any city. You've heard about the other cities around the world where people are not excited about changing their streets. And this just shows you in the city of Calgary, they have a service where you can call a number if you're concerned about a street. And you can see that as the quick build projects were starting, there was a lot of negative feedback. But as those projects were finished, that feedback became more and more positive. And that's a strength of this strategy, is to quickly get it all built so that people can get out and experience those streets and discover how nice it is to have a full network so that you don't have gaps when you're taking a trip. And then, you know, the other part of this is just having the proof of concept. You know, when you build an entire network quickly and people begin using it, then more and more people see it as a benefit. And so getting it on the ground quickly and getting people out riding bikes is a big strength of this process. This is just a few articles from the quick build projects in Edmonton, Alberta. Low cost implementation is another part of this. We're not spending a lot of money. We usually, these projects typically do not move the curb line of the street. And you can see we're using a lot of very inexpensive treatments, planter boxes, striping, precast curbs. This is a before and after of a quick build in Seattle, Washington. This is another one in Seattle, before and after. You can see, again, some flex posts and other temporary or permanent, but low-cost treatments, striping, and green paint. And this is another view of a quick build project in Seattle, again, with the green paint and planter boxes and signalization at the intersections for bicycles. This is a typical time frame of a quick build project. This was for one in Houston, Texas, 11 weeks from beginning to end to final construction. It's again, it's a very quick treatment. And then finally, just some ingredients for success. It's very important to have political champions on your side for these projects to help break impasses and to give the power to the agencies to make decisions. Important to emphasize the network and talking about the project with the public, that this isn't going to be an entire network, and it's important to get the whole thing built quickly so that people can use it. And then again, focusing on high comfort facilities and not forgetting to address the intersections is another really important aspect. We want to focus on projects that show results quickly, and often we wait for the bigger projects until later that are going to be more expensive. We make sure that we have a collaborative team of designers and operators. If snow removal is something that's going to be an issue, we make sure that we're involving the operators as well. And then just always remember that the initial network is a really important milestone, but you can't stop there. You will still have parts of the community that need attention later. And so that's why you need to plan for a phase 2 when you do a quick build project. Okay, so that is what quick build looks like in the United States right now. And we look forward to learning about what you will do in Germany, and wish you the best of luck with your program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jennifer. I think like one common element that all of you have mentioned is the fear of change, and that how it really overcomes with the praxis of the examples and the projects. But one thing I'm also going to take for your presentation is that perfect is the enemy of good. I think we should really keep that in mind. So, okay, so maybe we can now go back to Laura. Laura, can you hear us now? So you can finish your presentation? Yeah, but I still don't hear you. Let's see. Could you keep on talking so I realize no, we are still not here. No. Okay, that maybe if you...
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I hear you, yeah. Even headphones. Good. Okay.
Okay. For my handy, we go back to our presentation. And thank you for the patience. So,
no problem.
Now, yeah, I'm sorry, all the problems. Okay, so we go back. 2013. We start an experiment and implement the ciclovia at the car-free day. Our car-free day was
Laura, sorry to interrupt
the mayor
you,
asked
but
the people and the people say yes, we want to the Thursday.
Yeah, can you hear us now? It looks like you have two mics open. So maybe if you can close one of them, we can hear we kind of echo. So maybe now? No, but now I cannot hear anything. So better double that, nothing.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now and way clearer. Great.
Perfect. So, and now, so 2020, with this situation of COVID, we had many challenges. The major challenge was the crowd and their consequent risk of congestion public transport. So we install the most of the kilometers of ciclovia, but also in other streets that we know that in our BRT system, Transmilenio, there was very crowded. Also because some parts of the city, for example, the Carrera Séptima, it hasn't infrastructure.
Laura, you there? I think we lost you again. I cannot hear you there anymore.
And it functioned very well, so good that we make some of these corridors permanent. That's how it sees Ciclovia now. 31 corridors with their coordinators, 27 kilometers. But the heart of Ciclovia are the people. The guardianes of de la Ciclovia, or guardians, are 330 trained people. They know first aid, they are qualified, they are selected for this problem, for this program. 150 police auxiliaries, 800 volunteers that work 2.5 months, coordinator, route shift managers, and the specialized persons, 11 specialized persons that take care. But also we had the street vendors, not just they sell not just food, they help us to repair sometimes our bikes. They sell things for your pet. So it's very interesting. And of course the material, so 3,000 cones, 1,500 fences, 30 trucks that start at 4 a.m. Picking up everything from the institution and taking to all the city to install the ciclovia, and then put it back at the afternoon. And of course, physical activity. The Ciclovia won 2 Guinness records, one of kickboxing, 8,200 people making kickboxing 60-minute class, and also 50,420 people doing aerobics in a class. So as you see, we use more than the road space. And that's very important. The coordination between entities is very important. So the Institute for Recreation and Sport coordinate with transport, the traffic plans, with education, what kind of messages we give, and campaigning, health, taking care of the people. And now with COVID-19, sometimes we make some tests. Security, of course, because there is some problems of thieves, police, also this institution of economic solidarity economic for the vendors, and public services, because sometimes there is garbage or other elements that affect the operation. Everything with our control in a control center. Like I said, there's problems, a casual problem, lost children, lost pets, road accidents, sometimes motor vehicles go into the ciclovia, some conflicts. But the people from the institution coordinate very well and are in contact constantly. And now they make a lot of campaigns about frequent wearing the mask and maintaining social distance. This picture is of September, because Ciclovia was suspended in March, and we start again in September of this year. I think it's the more time that we doesn't have a Ciclovia. And we understand it also as a element for mental health for our people. And we try to share everything what we know with other cities. Over 300 cities make this experiment also, and we try to build a net of recreovías, and 70 large and medium cities adopting in their development plans. What we plan in the next years or in the next months is new routes, night cycle paths during the week, not just in December, some children's areas for the small ones, bland cycling. This is, with these tandem bikes, going out with people with vision impaired or visual disabilities, and cycloskates, because ciclovías need not just for walking and cycling, it is also for skates and other sports. So thank you very much.
And thank you also for waking up so early to join us. So we unfortunately run out of time, so we won't have much time for questions. But there's one question that it's very popular here, and it's about parking, and it's for Sylvia in the super blocks. Maybe if you very fast can say something about what happened to all the parked cars in the super block. How did you get rid of them? There was any kind of special parking policy? Very short, please.
Yes, it's really easy. Well, in Barcelona, we've got the green area for the inhabitants, for the residents, and in this area, it didn't work yet. So it was the moment to really start defining the residence area for parking. So no problem at all. I mean, then the neighbors have their own parking places, most of them, because it's new buildings. So just with a few places, it's enough. It was easy.
Wow.
In this case.
Well, okay. Good. Well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we ran out of time now. So, but a huge thank you to all our panelists. I really hope also that you were watching were able to take good learnings and inspiration on how to achieve livable neighborhoods and cities. And because now it's the turn of your city.